So if you haven't been paying attention, the market out there is going crazy with all these new releases. The Canon R5 is coming out that shoots 8K RAW in a full frame, small, mirrorless body. We have the Ursa Mini 12K Super 35 Cine camera, and we even have the Sony a7S III full frame mirrorless hybrid finally coming out. It's never been a better time for you to be a content creator. The bodies are super cheap, there's so much information on how to operate them that's readily available on the internet, and with so many halfway decent options out there on the market, you really can't go wrong. But at the same time, this is kind of indicative of what I'm assuming is going to be a coming technology plateau. And that means cameras are about to get a whole lot more interesting. I'm gonna talk about that more and why I think you might actually be underestimating what all these new features might mean for your future workflow. So I want you to kind of go back in time and think about how the world was circa 2016, 2017. Think about how smartphones back then were reacting to the market. This was right around the period when the technology in them just peaked. Everything in them just became good enough. The battery life was fine, cameras were great, displays were great. Everything was just as good as it was probably going to be for the majority of people. Fast forward to now, everybody has one. You can get one at a gas station. You can get one at any cheap supermarket. They're just perfectly fine and adequate for almost everybody's needs. And cameras are no different in this regard. We've seen the same thing happen with laptops, desktops, and even other forms of technology. What I'm predicting is happening is that all this culmination of technology that we're seeing in these new bodies is exactly that, the precursor to the plateau. Now, that's not a bad thing. In fact, right now is probably the best time for this to happen, because that means that all these new content creators out there who have stories they want to get out or pieces of content that they do want to develop are going to have so many less hurdles to be able to create the vision that they see. And with that though, we're also going to see all these new crazy technologies and cameras and everything just coming out so rapidly in the next couple years. And finally, what we're probably going to see, and what I think is going to be most interesting, is the merger between a video and a stills camera. Because if you really think about it, 12K, that's 80 megapixels, more than most landscape photographers would even need for halfway decent prints. And if you're taking 60 stills at a second, what more would you really need from a regular photography camera? So I'm not gonna sit here and lecture you on 12K, 8K, or even 6K, because really it doesn't make you a better filmmaker, it doesn't make you a better storyteller, and at the end of the day, if you just have a horrible shoot, well, now you have a horrible shoot that's captured in extremely high resolution. No, what I think is important about these new releases is that we're starting to see the culmination of everything from sensor technology, storage technology, body technology, cooling technology, just create the perfect camera on the horizon. And by that I mean it's applicable to the majority of people out there who are making content. There's going to be a camera out there that just is good enough for most people. And I think we're right on the cusp to seeing that. Because of that though, cameras are about to get a whole lot interesting, and there's going to be a lot of releases that frankly don't apply to most people. But that also means that those cameras that you need and can benefit from are going to get that much cheaper. Think of what you would define as a specialty camera. What does it have included inside of it that makes it special? Is it the integrated ND filters, the built-in XLR ports, the dual card slots, the mounting points? All of these pieces of technology were at some point something that was out of the reach of middle, bottom filmmakers or content creators. And eventually they trickled down into basically every camera we have nowadays. And what we're seeing right now is all of those features that at a certain point were traditionally only reserved for extremely high-end content creators are just becoming the norm. Take raw video. Nowadays you can get a $1,200 camera that shoots raw video, and it does it great. It can be edited on pretty much any machine, and we saw this years ago with the smartphone race, the laptop race, and the desktop race. Nowadays, it makes no sense to manufacture a 64 gigabyte SSD. And 10 years from now, is it going to make sense to manufacture a camera that doesn't shoot 4K, 8K, 6K. So here's how I think the next couple of years are probably gonna go down. We're probably gonna see a lot of camera companies out there just massively downsizing their lineup to a few specialty cameras, and more importantly, all of those really high-end features are gonna trickle down into their lower tier. We're gonna see the eventual merging years down the line of a video and a stills camera, just a perfect hybrid camera that can at least be built up into a rig that probably has comparable video features to what we're putting out now. And if they can overcome all the overheating issues, I think really what we're going to see is a lot of those higher tier things just become norm. Probably gonna start seeing more 8K bodies, 6K bodies, maybe even a 12K hybrid mirrorless very soon, but all the time we're going to really just see a lot of diminishing returns and filmmakers just turning more and more towards software or hardware that differentiates itself from just the numbers game. Because most filmmakers out there aren't really going to need these high resolutions. That means that all these other companies are either going to need to focus on sensor sizes, software technology, HDR technology, more dynamic range in general, better low light performance. The things that make them special, they're probably gonna be focusing far more on. So at the end of the day, what does this mean for you as a filmmaker? Probably not a lot right now. Because a lot of this technology is right on the cusp of being released, you won't really feel the effects until these become probably second or third generation cameras. But you should still be on the lookout for something out there that's probably going to be the last camera you're going to buy if you're going to stick within a certain market segment. Most people out there are not even gonna buy an ARRI in their lifetime or buy a RED or even rent one. There's nothing wrong with that. The great thing about it is that your workflow is about to get far more easier and far more cheaper because all those tool sets are going to trickle down. And the thing with that is the technology can only go so far because people are going to start asking, why do I need this? Why do I need this high resolution? Why do I need that high resolution? Why do I need this frame rate? And at a certain point, those returns are going to be too big for most filmmakers. So inevitably, the byproduct of making all that technology and putting all that R&D money is that they're going to still be making those second tier cameras, or they're going to be selling last year's model on a used market somewhere. And you're going to benefit that much more. But we want to know what you think. Are you even eyeballing these cameras? Do you even see them as something that you're going to buy right now? Are you looking to be the early adopter who just wants the latest and greatest and is looking to actually have a reason to build out an 8K editing rig or even a 12K camera on set? Or do you not care and you're adequate with what you have right now? We want to know what you think. Go ahead and hit up the comment selection below and be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, including skyfeatherstudios.com for the latest in industry news. But until then, we'll see you next time.